After 3 years of terror with my ex, a 6 feet 6 inches MMA fighter stood by me and showed my abuser disappear for good. We helped his newest victim find safety. My name is Beatrice, and I am 29 years old. I finally left Wesley 3 years ago, after 5 years of the worst relationship I'd ever had. However, leaving him did not imply that he abandoned me. The threat began the day after I moved out. I was at Target, just trying to get some basics for my new apartment, when this guy my age smiled at me in the cleaning supplies aisle. Simply a friendly smile. Nothing strange. I smiled back because that's how normal people behave. 3 hours later, Wesley arrived at my new location. I'm still not sure how he found my address. He banged on the door so hard that I thought he'd break it down. "I saw you at Target," he exclaimed through the door. "I saw that guy looking at you. You think you can just move on? You think I'm going to let some random guy think he has a chance with you?" I made a police report. They came. They spoke to him. He was calm by then. Everyone smiled and apologized. Said it was a misunderstanding. We had just broken up, and my emotions were running high. The officers basically told both of us to get on with our lives. It was the first time. The second time was in a coffee shop. A barista made small talk with me while preparing my latte. Wesley was somehow present, sitting in the corner. I had not even seen him. The barista, a sweet kid who couldn't have been more than 21, finished his shift and discovered all 4 of his tires slashed in the parking lot. I knew it was Wesley. The barista did not make the connection, but I did. The third time happened at my gym. A guy asked if I was finished with the machine. Just asked. Wesley followed him to his car and apparently confronted him, telling him to stay away from me or he would regret it. The guy returned inside and complained to the staff. They reviewed the security footage. Wesley was barred from entering the property, but the problem persisted. For 3 years, this was my life. I couldn't speak to men. I couldn't smile at anyone. I could not be in public without wondering if Wesley was watching. I filed for a restraining order, but Wesley was astute. He never did anything to me directly. It was always the men in my life who suffered. And, somehow, he always had an alibi, a reason, or just enough deniability to make nothing stick. My friends advised me to move cities. My mother wanted me to return home to Ohio, but I had established a life in Austin, Texas. I had a good job as a graphic designer. I had an apartment. I had a routine. Why should I be the one who runs? So I stayed and became invisible. I stopped going out. I stopped dating. I rarely left my apartment except for work. I was 26 years old and lived like a prisoner. Then I met Archer. It was Wednesday afternoon, and my laptop had died right in the middle of a deadline. Just completely gave up. I panicked and ran to an electronics repair shop 2 blocks from my office, nearly in tears. Archer was behind the counter. He was massive. I'm 5'3", and I had to crane my neck back to see him. He had to be at least 6'6" and possibly taller. Broad shoulders and hands the size of dinner plates. His nose appeared to have been broken more than once, and he had a scar through his left eyebrow. He appeared terrifying, but when he spoke, his tone was gentle. "Hey, it's okay. We'll figure it out. Let me take a look." I explained the deadline, the panic, and everything just poured out. He listened patiently and then smiled. "I can have this fixed in an hour. There's a cafe next door. Go get yourself a coffee. Try to relax and come back. I've got you." I wanted to tell him not to talk to me. I wanted to explain that being nice to me would endanger him, but the deadline was in 4 hours and I was desperate, so I simply said, "Thank you." My laptop was fixed within an hour. Archer declined to charge me for the labor. "First-time customer discount," he said with a smile. "Just pay for the part." I should have left it there. I should have taken my laptop and never returned. But something about him seemed safe. Maybe it was because he was so big, but I couldn't imagine Wesley intimidating him. Maybe I just got tired of being scared. "Thank you," I replied. "Really? You saved my life today?" "Anytime," he said, handing me his business card. "We're here 6 days a week. If anything tech-related breaks, you know where to find me." I walked half a block before realizing Wesley was across the street, leaning against a building, watching me. Our gazes met. He smiled. Not a friendly smile, but a warning. My stomach dropped. I walked faster, returned to my office, and spent the remainder of the day feeling ill. That night, on my way home, I drove past the repair shop. The lights were still on. Through the window, I could see Archer working on something at the counter. I parked across the street and sat there, waiting for Wesley to appear and do something horrible, but nothing happened. Archer locked up at 7, walked to a large pickup truck, and drove away. I went home but did not sleep. The next morning, I was unable to concentrate on work. I kept checking the repair shop's Facebook page, expecting to find a post about vandalism or something worse, but there was none. At lunch, I walked past the store. Archer was there, alive and well, assisting a client. He saw me through the window and waved. I waved back and continued walking, my heart pounding. 4 days have passed. Nothing occurred. Wesley did not show up at my apartment. Archer's shop was not vandalized. No slashed tires or threatening encounters. It did not make sense. On Saturday, I went to the farmer's market in downtown. I used to go every week before Wesley, but I stopped because he kept finding me there. This was the first time I had gone in over a year. I was looking at tomatoes when I noticed a familiar voice behind me. Beatrice. I turned. Archer stood there wearing athletic shorts and a tank top, holding a reusable shopping bag. His arms were enormous. Not gym rat huge, but fighter huge, with functional muscle and scars. Hey, I said, trying to be casual. I didn't know you came here every Saturday. He cracked a joke. The vendor over there makes these breakfast burritos that are incredible. You tried them? I nodded. Come on, my treat. Consider it an apology for overcharging you on that laptop hurt. You didn't overcharge me. I know, but I'm getting you a burrito anyway. Something about his tone made it impossible to disagree. We walked to the vendor together, where Archer ordered 2 burritos and 2 freshly squeezed lemonades. We found a spot under a tree to eat and talk. Really talked. He told me about growing up in Minnesota and moving to Austin 5 years ago. He explained that he had always been good with technology but needed a physical outlet, which is why he trained. Trained what? I inquired. MMA, mixed martial arts. I fight professionally. Well, semi-professionally. I've had 13 fights. Won 9. My chest clenched. You're a fighter. Yeah. He took a bite of his burrito. I know. People hear that and think I'm some aggressive meathead, but honestly, it's the opposite. Fighting teaches you control, discipline. When you really know how to hurt someone, you become very careful about not doing it. I didn't know how to respond. A part of me wanted to get up and leave. A part of me wanted to tell him everything about Wesley. Part of me just wanted to sit there and have a normal conversation for the first time in years. We spoke for 4 hours. He was funny, intelligent, and surprisingly gentle for someone who beats people up for a living. When we finally said our goodbyes, he asked for my number. I paused. Every instinct told me this was dangerous, but I was tired of being scared. I gave him my number. That night, he texted me, "Thanks for the farmer's market. That was nice. Would you want to get dinner sometime?" I stared at my phone for 11 minutes before responding. "I need to tell you something first." Okay. So I told him everything about Wesley, the threats, the pattern of men around me getting hurt or scared away, and how I hadn't dated anyone in 3 years because I didn't want anyone else to suffer. I expected him to stop responding. I expected him to make an excuse and leave. As any reasonable person would. Instead, he wrote back, "That's horrible. I'm sorry you've been dealing with that. But here's the thing, Beatrice. I'm not afraid of your ex, and I'd really like to take you to dinner." We went to dinner on Tuesday, a nice Italian place downtown. I was paranoid the entire time, scanning the restaurant for Wesley's face, but he was not present. Archer informed me about his upcoming fight. It was in 4 weeks in Austin. He appeared excited but nervous. My opponent is tough. He's got a wrestling background, and that's always been my weakness. "What's your strength?" I responded. "Striking. I'm a boxer first, but in MMA, you can't just be one thing. You have to be well-rounded." After dinner, he walked me to the car. "I had a great time," he said. "Can we do this again?" "Yes," I replied, and I meant it. We began to see each other regularly. 2 dates per week became 3, and then 4. He never pushed for anything physical, other than holding hands, or kissing goodnight. He was patient and kind, and I felt safe for the first time in years. And Wesley did not show up once. It was weird and unsettling. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, but it never happened. After 4 weeks of dating Archer, I went to his fight. He had given me 2 tickets, so I brought my friend Olivia. She had been my best friend since college and had witnessed Wesley destroy my life in real time. "I can't believe you're dating someone," Olivia commented as we took our seats. "And I really can't believe you're dating a cage fighter." "He's not what you'd expect," I said with candor. "Look at you. You're smiling. You're out in public. You're living again." The battle was fierce. I had never watched MMA before, and the violence shocked me. But Archer was incredible, quick, and precise. He eliminated his opponent in the second round. Following the fight, we went backstage to congratulate him. His face was bruised, his knuckles were taped, but he was smiling. "You came," he said when he saw me. "Of course I came. He kissed me right in front of everybody. It was the first time he had truly kissed me, and it felt like everything fell into place. We went out to celebrate with his teammates and friends. At the bar, Archer introduced me to everybody. "This is Beatrice, my girlfriend." Girlfriend? The word sent my heart racing. I had not been anyone's girlfriend since Wesley. That night, after everyone had gone, Archer and I sat in his truck in the parking lot. "I need to tell you something," he said. My chest tightened. "Here it comes," I mused. This is where he tells me it's too much. That Wesley is too much. Instead, he said, "Your ex came to see me. Everything stopped about 4 weeks ago." What? He showed up at the shop, waited until I was alone, and then entered. He started making threats, telling me to stay away from you, and that if I didn't, he would ruin my life. I felt unable to breathe. "Archer, I'm so sorry. I should have warned you better." "I should have, Beatrice." He held my hand. "Let me finish. So, your ex is standing there trying to intimidate me, telling me all the things he's done to other guys who talk to you. And I just listen. Let him say his piece. Then, you know what I did?" I shook my head. I told him I fight for a living. That I've trained for 13 years. That I've been hit by the best strikers in Texas, and taken down by the best wrestlers. And that if he ever came near you again, if he ever so much as sent you a text message or drove past your apartment, I would find him and it wouldn't be a threat. It would be a promise. My hands shook. What did he do? He tried to act tough for about 10 more seconds, then he realized I wasn't backing down and left. I haven't heard from him since. I couldn't decide whether to laugh or cry. "You threatened him." "I didn't threaten him. I made him understand consequences. There's a difference." Archer looked at me intently. "Beatrice, I know what you've been through and I know you've probably been protecting everyone around you for years, but you don't have to protect me. I can take care of myself and more importantly, I want to take care of you." That was more than a month ago. Wesley has not contacted me since. Has not shown up anywhere. For the first time in over 3 years, I have not caused any harm to anyone. I am free. Archer and I are still together. I go to all of his fights now. He has won his last 4. We moved in together last month, to a small house with a yard. The house was Archer's idea. He lived in a tiny apartment above the repair shop, while I was in my 1-bedroom with the traumatic memories. We decided to start over together. House hunting was an adventure. Everywhere we looked, I found myself thinking about security. Archer noted good locks, well-lit streets, and easy escape routes. "We're going to find a place where you feel safe," he told you. "Take your time." We discovered it 4 weeks later. A cozy 2-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood. Daisy, the landlord, was a sweet older woman who lived 2 houses down. She glanced at Archer and said, "Oh, good. You're a big one. We could use more good men on this street." Archer laughed. "I'll do my best, ma'am." We moved in on Saturday. Olivia arrived to assist, along with Archer's 2 training partners, Aaron and Chris. Both of them were fighters, albeit not as big as Archer. They treated me as if I were already family. Aaron said as he carried boxes, "Archer never stops talking about you. It's honestly annoying. Beatrice this. Beatrice that. We get it, dude. You're in love." Archer tossed a roll of packing tape at him. We ordered pizza and sat on the floor our first night in the new house because we didn't have any furniture yet. Archer wrapped his arm around me and said, "This is ours, our space, our life. No one else gets to touch it." I believed him. The following few months were the happiest of my life. I was discovering how a normal relationship felt. Archer and I had our first real fight around 3 months in. It was stupid. Something about him forgetting to let me know he'd be late from the gym. I became concerned because he didn't answer his phone. When he finally arrived home, I snapped at him. He did not yell back. He simply said, "You're right. I should have called. I'm sorry." There was no screaming, no punishment, and no silent treatment for several days. Only an apology and a promise to do better. I cried. I just stood there in our kitchen, crying, because I had forgotten that fights could be so simple. Archer held me while I told him about how Wesley used to turn every minor disagreement into a war, how he'd give me the silent treatment for days, refuse to tell me what I'd done wrong, and force me to beg forgiveness for things I didn't understand. "I'm never going to do that to you," Archer replied. "We're going to fight sometimes. That's normal, but we're going to fight fairly, and we're always going to come back to each other. Always. I'm learning to live again, to go out without fear, to smile at strangers, to exist in the world as a normal person." However, not everything went smoothly. About 5 months into our relationship, I experienced a panic attack at a restaurant. We were having dinner with some of Archer's gym friends, and one of them had brought his new girlfriend. Her name was Lydia, and she appeared to be pleasant. But she was the same age as me and had long dark hair like mine. And the way she described her ex-boyfriend made my chest tighten. The restaurant was overcrowded and loud. Too many people. Particularly men. I suddenly couldn't breathe. I excused myself to the bathroom and locked myself in a stall, attempting to recall the breathing exercises my previous therapist had taught me. But I couldn't stay calm. My heartbeat was racing. My hands were shaking. I was convinced Wesley was out there, watching and waiting. Olivia found me 10 minutes later. She'd noticed I'd been gone for too long and came looking. She sat on the bathroom floor with me as I broke down. "It's okay," she kept saying. "You're safe. Wesley isn't here. Archer is right outside. You're safe." Archer eventually arrived looking for both of us. He looked at me and knew what I was saying. He didn't ask any questions. He just helped me up, told his friends we needed to leave, and drove me home. In bed that night, I apologized. "I ruined dinner." "You didn't ruin anything," he said. "You had a panic attack. That's not your fault. I thought I was getting better." "You are getting better. But healing isn't linear. Some days will be difficult." "That's okay." He persuaded me to resume seeing a therapist. Her name was Dr. Lisa Chen, and yes, I noticed she shared the same surname as Archer. She specialized in trauma and recovery. Dr. Chen was good. Very good. She didn't make me relive everything, but she did help me process it. Helped me realize that what Wesley did was not my fault, that I did not deserve it, and that I did not cause it. "You can't control other people's actions," she explained during one session. "You can only control your response, and you responded by surviving. That takes strength." The counseling was helpful. Slowly, gradually, I began to feel more like myself. Prior to Wesley, I was myself. The girl who laughed easily, trusted others, and did not cringe when someone raised their voice. Last week, I was shopping alone when I noticed Wesley in the frozen food aisle. My entire body became rigid. He saw me too. For a brief moment, we just stared at each other. Then he grabbed his card and walked in the opposite direction without saying anything. I stood there for a minute, processing. Then I laughed. Actually laughed out loud in the middle of the grocery store because Wesley was afraid of the person who chose to stand beside me rather than of me. That night, I told Archer what had happened. "He ran away from you," Archer remarked, smiling. "Good. I feel like I should feel bad about that," I commented. "Like, you essentially scared him into leaving me alone through intimidation. Isn't that just more of the same?" Archer was thinking about it. "The difference is I'm not controlling you. I'm not telling you who you can talk to or where you can go. I'm not making your life smaller. I made sure he couldn't do that anymore. That's not the same thing." He had the correct idea. A few days later, something strange occurred. A woman named Megan messaged me on Facebook. I didn't recognize her name, but her profile indicated that she lived in Austin. The message read, "I hope this isn't weird, but I heard from a mutual friend that you used to date Wesley Morrison. I'm reaching out because I've just started dating him and things are starting to feel off. I was wondering if we could talk." My blood ran cold. Wesley had moved on and was already repeating the same pattern with someone else. I called Archer immediately and read him the message. "What should I do?" "You meet with her," he replied without hesitation. "You tell her everything. You give her the chance you never had." I accepted the offer. Megan and I went to a coffee shop the next day. She was 23, pretty, and appeared nervous as hell. I did not sugarcoat anything. I told her about the 4 years of control and manipulation,